Recently, I've been testing out the Sony's Xperia 1 Mark VI, and as someone who uses the Sony a7 IV and the Xiaomi 14 Ultra on a daily basis, today I'm gonna break down what this photocentric smartphone brings to the table, and is it actually worth the hype? Before we begin, if you want to help me grow this channel, consider subscribing. And if you're interested in photo and video side of smartphones, you don't want to miss what's coming up next. Okay, so let's talk about this camera setup. It's a triple camera setup from Sony. We have a 48 megapixel main camera sensor, along with a 12 megapixel wide-angle lens, with a 12 megapixel telephoto lens, which is zoom capable, from 85mm up to 125mm. On paper, this setup seems like a really good camera setup, along with many features that Sony users are gonna recognize right away, like the real-time eye autofocus, pro-level manual controls, and impressive low-light performance. And while this looks all great on paper, I'll be honest, I was a little bit disappointed by the performance of the camera in the automatic modes. I just thought it's gonna be a little bit more impressive coming from a Sony phone. You know, a lot of phones use these Sony sensors in their phones, but then the software does a really good job of taking photos. So I was expecting that the ones that make the sensors themselves are gonna be the ones to really push the photo boundaries. And compared to competition in 2024 in the flagship category, I just feel like it falls a little bit short. The photos just lack a little bit of saturation and dynamic range. And that is especially seen in the portrait mode, where the dynamic range really falls apart. For example, compared to the Xiaomi 14 Ultra in the portrait mode, not only the dynamic range is much better, but also the bokeh effect, so the depth of field, the background blur, is much more natural in its final product. The wide-angle lens was a good surprise for me. I wasn't expecting it to be that good. Usually on the smartphones, the wide-angle lens is the worst one, and usually the one that I just feel like is always the worst of the all options that we have on the smartphone. But here, I really was expecting a little bit less than we actually got. So if you're into like architectural photography, this is a great option, and it's a really good wide-angle lens. And that even comes to the video department that we're gonna talk about in a second. It just doesn't feel like a typical smartphone wide-angle camera. It looks much better, and it has really nice sharpness in the photos. The telephoto lens is the one that I was expecting a little bit more from it. On paper, it's really nice with a zoom capabilities, which is just not heard of in the smartphones in 2024. But in real-world usage, I feel like it disappointed a little bit. It just didn't live up to the expectations. With 12 megapixel, it's not the sharpest, and it just isn't the clearest in the photos. But also the dynamic range isn't anything to write home about. So in short, it really lacks in the details, sharpness, and dynamic range. But in the manual mode, this is where this phone actually takes a turn. You can set up all of the settings by yourself and also shoot in JPEG and RAW. Essentially, you can shoot in RAW and edit those photos to your liking in post-production on your PC or on the smartphone itself. So if you're into manual settings, this is a great option. And thanks to the RAW photos, you can really take advantage of what the phone captures and make those photos your own. Also, there's actually a dedicated button for photos on the smartphone. It's much better than the competition has in 2024. Not only is it placed in the right spot for your finger, it's also a two-step physical button, meaning that the first step is for the autofocus and the second one for taking the photo. And it's just perfectly placed where your finger lands. In short, in automatic mode for quick shots, it's not the best, and I was a little bit disappointed. But in the manual, the pro mode is much better, giving you much more creative freedom and just better quality. One thing that I'm not too fond of is while the macro photos can be taken with the telephoto lens, it doesn't have autofocus, so you have to actually do it manually. So it's gonna be harder to take that photo, and out of 10 photos, maybe 2 are gonna be in focus. Even though you have the focus lines and grids and everything, it's still gonna be a challenge to get a good photo with the telephoto lens on the macro. So you can get a good result, but it's not gonna be as easy. But it's nice that it's on telephoto, so it's like a give and take. There's some pluses and minuses, and compared to Xiaomi 14 Ultra, which has autofocus, that is a big difference. It's much more easier to use. Now let's talk about the video side of the smartphone, because I feel like this is actually the better side of it. You can actually shoot up to 4K 120 frames per second on all of the different lenses, which is incredible to see, as a lot of companies usually have the main sensor being the most capable and everyone being a little bit different. But here you have 4K 120 frames per second on all of them. And in 4K 60 frames per second, you can switch between the lenses while recording, which I just love on smartphones. The switch between the lenses is a little bit slower here compared to the competition. Overall, you can adjust the shutter speed and focus on this, and you even have help for focus when shooting in manual focus. And even this sounds here when shooting the videos sounds exactly like the full frame cameras from Sony. So if you're after that Sony alpha experience in a smartphone, this is as close as you can get on a smartphone. The 4K 120 frames per second really gives really nice footage that is not only super sharp, but can actually also be slowed down for nice slow motion. And coming to your options, once again, you can record in the STR mode, which is the standard, and with it is the BT709 color space. Or you can record in HDR with its hybrid log gamma and BT2020 color space. Overall, in video department, you can definitely see an improvement in the smartphone. While it's not perfect by any means, and dynamic range could be a little bit better, as well as saturation, but it's something that is happening on both the photo and video side. And one more thing that I noticed is the zoom lens seems to be a little bit blurry. So it's on paper really nice that there is a zoom capability, but in reality, I just feel like there's something missing. It's a little bit blurry, doesn't look as sharp, and just looks fuzzy. If you're enjoying the music in this video or in any other of my work, check out the link down below for Epidemic Sound. This is a great service for you if you want to start your YouTube career and maybe you need copyright-free music for your videos. Check it out, it's gonna be linked down below with a 30-day free trial. Really quickly, just going over the design and the build quality and overall how good the phone is. In itself, I feel like this phone is really, really nice. We were not expecting it to be so nice in person, in hand. It looks really nice, it's great for design itself, and it has a glass back with a texture which is really nice in hand, and also it's aluminum body frame, which means it's really good for durability. Really nice in terms of ergonomics and overall how it looks. It's really good looking. It also has the camera photo button, an audio jack, which a lot of people are gonna really love that there's an audio jack on this, and also you have capabilities to actually extend your storage with the SIM tray capable of SD storage, making this a really unique and incredible phone in 2024. The only thing that I'm not really a fan of is the bezels on the top and the bottom. These two things are in a way actually understandable, because thanks to this they can hide the selfie camera and also the front-facing stereo speakers, so if you're watching something it sounds really good. But this is gonna be your personal preference. I personally like when this phone really pushes the boundaries of the screen, but this OLED panel from Sony is amazing in terms of looks, but you're gonna have to live with those bezels. If you like that kind of stuff, it's gonna be something for you, but if you don't like the bezels, maybe this is something that could be a deal breaker. Overall, the design is a really nice surprise. So what's my final take on this smartphone? In terms of photos and videos, I feel like it's great for photos and videos in the manual mode, when you really want to take advantage of your camera. But if you're using the phone like I do, which is something that I just want to take a quick photo and not really add it in post-production, then maybe this isn't the best option for you. And maybe something like a Xiaomi 14 Ultra is a better pick for you. And a video about this phone is in top right corner of the screen right now. Maybe I'm being a little bit over dramatic, but I just expected more from Sony, especially at this price range. And also, one thing I noticed is when I was looking at the photos and videos on the computer, it looks so much different than on here. For example, the stabilization wasn't as good as I thought it was from the screen itself, and the photos were actually better than it looked on the screen. So it's kind of like a give and take. So some things are gonna be better and worse, and it's like a mixed bag. Sometimes the photos are better, sometimes they're not as good, so I just expected more from Sony. Sony's approach is more about the giving the user more capabilities, more freedom in their creativity, and overall just placing a little bit more on you, and not the software itself. So if you're into manual photos with your smartphone, this is a great option. But if you're not, and you just want something that is with good photos right out of the box, maybe this isn't for you. Let me know what you think about this phone and how you're liking it in terms of photos and videos. What are your thoughts about the Sony Xperia 1 Mark 6? With that being said, that is going to be the end of today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed this video once again, and I'll see you next time.